Well, welcome everyone. I hope you have just enjoyed coffee and bagel just now and spent some time meeting other attendees. We'll be randomly selecting one participant as a winner for the $50 Amazon gift card. The winner will be receiving an email from us in a few minutes, so please be on the lookout for that. So far, today's lucky winners have been Mary Todd at Idaho Housing Finance Association and Jeff Swanson at Rhode Island Housing. Congratulations, Marie and Jeff. Enjoy the gift cards and have a nice cup of coffee or two on ProLink Solutions. The session you have just joined is titled Admin Features in the Agency Portal and will be presented by Joe Collier at ProLink Solutions. As a reminder, you are on track 2, ProLink Plus half track. Before we start the session, I'd like to take a few minutes to cover some housekeeping items. First, on the right side of your screen, you have access to the chat feature. This particular session is a live session. And while the speaker, Joe, is focusing on presentation, we have Sarah Supernan, who is a customer success manager at ProLink Solutions. She will be monitoring the chat throughout the session. So please feel free to post any questions or comments throughout the session in the chat, and Sarah will be responding to you in real time. Or Joe will follow up with you after the session. Please note that your posts and comments are visible to all other attendees. Also on the right side of your screen, you have access to the poll feature. Throughout the session, 3 poll questions will be displayed one by one. When you provide your own response each time, you'll be able to see the poll result in real time. So we encourage you to participate. This is where you can download a copy of Joe's PowerPoint. You can download anytime before, during, or after his session. So now, without further ado, I will introduce the session speaker, Joe Collier. He's a principal business consultant at ProLink Solutions. He joined ProLink in early 2020 and has been serving customers in both ProLink HFA and ProLink Plus products. Joe will be covering the topic of admin features in the agency portal today. So Joe, please share your screen now and you can take it away.
All right, thank you, Ryan. Oops, need to click on fully share there. There we go. All right, so thank you, Ryan. Thank you, Sarah, for monitoring the chat. Thank you, everyone else out in attendance. I appreciate the chance to talk to you today a little bit about some of the administrative features in the ProLink Plus back office or agency portal. At any time along the way, please, if you do have a question, please chat it out. Sarah will get that question to me and we'll get it answered either via chat or I'll see if I can answer it live. So let's get going here. So there are lots of different items on the administrative panel menu in ProLink Plus. We're not going to cover all of those. There are a few items that I may mention. Please don't mess with if you're an administrator, but the ones we'll go over today will be sort of the most critical in configuring the system and the most sort of accessible to system administrators. And so let's get started, funnily enough, with data views. So we just had a session on data views. I hope you're not too sick of them because we'll talk just a little bit more about them to get started today. So I'll show you how through the admin data view function, you can review all available data views. You can view the details of a particular data view, and you can make some changes to the columns that are available in that data view. So review all available data views, list data views. So in the admin panel menu, for those of you on the call that have access to ProLink Plus currently and are administrators, you should be familiar with this ProLink admin menu here. Those of you who are not administrators, you probably won't even see this. So if this doesn't look familiar, that's why. But anyway, to get into the data views menu, you'll go ahead and click on data views underneath ProLink admin here, and you'll be presented with a list of all the different data views available in the system. Notice there's going to be more data views here than show up in the data views menu. That's because a lot of the kind of administrative features, administrative menus are themselves data views, including this listing of data views here. If you want to check out a data view further, you'll just go ahead and click on the particular row that corresponds with the data view that you want to check out. What does it look like after you click on a row? So you'll be presented with a few different tabs. The first tab is the main tab. It shows you the title of the data view, default sort of the data view, some of the high-level defaults, and the default sort direction of that default. Moving along to the columns tab. So this is where you can actually see the different data points that make up a data view, and you can make some changes to those. So if you want to make a change to a particular column, click on the row that corresponds to that column. And then you will get to a screen that looks kind of like this. It's got the column name, column caption. This is actually what's going to be displayed on screen for that column header. So if you want to change the name of something for some reason, this is how you can do it. Column width, this is how much real estate that column is going to take up on your screen. You know, if you have a yes or no column, you can make that pretty narrow and save some real estate. It's a way to kind of modify data views behind the scenes. Format, to be honest, I wouldn't mess around with this, but this is how you can change number formatting on numeric values. Skip over a couple of these is quick search field. So in the data views session previously, I mentioned you have the ability to do kind of a keyword search in data views. This is how, as an administrator, you can turn different columns on or off to be included in that quick search. And these last two options, sum in footer, sum in group. If you've got like a currency value in a data view and you want to have subtotals, sum in footer gives you a subtotal for your entire data set. Sum in group gives you subtotals over your different groups. So those are actually pretty cool features. And so as we just had a session on data views, this one is pretty quick. If you want to know what it looks like to view private views or create public views through the administrative data view menu, that previous training session has some detail on that. Really quickly though, before we hop into the next section, I'm going to show you what it looks like to have sum and group turned on. So I'm here in the admin menu, come into data views, and when I think money in ProLink Plus, I think disbursements, or when I think numbers rather. And so I click into that, I get the details of the data view. I'm going to come into columns here and disbursement amount, right? I want to see subtotals for that. So I'm going to go ahead and click into that row. Oh, of course, looks like sum and footer and sum and group are already enabled. So what we can actually do is I can show you what that looks like. Go ahead and click save, make sure the way the page looks is saved. I'm going to jump into the disbursements data view really quickly here. And pick a data view with disbursement amount displayed front and center. And now notice a couple things. Notice I've got a total here at the bottom. So this is sum and footer, right? All the disbursement amounts in this data set are subtotaled here. Then the sum and group. So all the dispersed disbursements subtotal to 35,000. Looks like all the disbursements for homeowner assistance subtotal to 188,390. That's what those couple options get you there. All right, and let's keep this train rolling. So that is the administrative features for data views in a nutshell. Now let's move on to the next item in our agenda, which is the administrative features for entities. So the learning objectives for this section, you'll be able to review the entities that are available or have been created in the system. You'll be able to add a new entity to the system, edit an existing entity, add ProLink users to an entity. This is how you hook up counselors with a counseling agency. Add contacts to entities within the system. This is how, say you have a mortgage servicer and there is somebody you need to call at that mortgage servicer to get help, you can add that person as a contact on that entity. You can review the different homeowner applications that have that entity tied to them. And you can also review and edit the account information for an entity. So if we're going to be paying an entity, and it's important to have the bank account information in the system, you can create that through the admin entities function. So first thing, list entities. You may notice a pattern as we go along here. So to view all the existing entities or create a new one, come into the admin menu, click on entities. You'll be presented with a list of all entities, which also happens to be a data view. So we can make some changes to it. But from this screen, a few different things you can do. A row click will get you into the existing entity. You'll be able to make changes, review further details of it. Up top here, if I click on new, I will actually be able to create a new entity in the system. Say we just signed up a servicer and we want to be able to make payments to that servicer, come into entities, click on new. That's how you'd set them up. So again, speaking of adding a new entity to the system, after you click new, you'll be presented with an edit screen or an input screen where you'll enter all the entity's details. Fields that are required are denoted with a red asterisk, so not too much required at the top level, just what's the entity's name, what is their role, and what is the entity type. We'll take a look at this in the system live in just a minute here. And then after you have that top level information, go ahead and click save, and your entity will be officially created. Edit an existing entity. So you'll come back to the same screen really if you're going to make changes to an existing entity. The only difference is that fields will already be populated with the information that currently exists for the entity. You will be able to also go through and make changes to these other tabs when you're editing an existing entity. So let's take a look at what those tabs are. ProLink users, I mentioned this is how you hook up counselors with counseling agencies. So a counseling agency is an entity in the system. A counselor is a user in the system. But in order for our assignment engine to know this particular counselor should be assigned to your case because you live in a certain area, well, the counseling agency is, you set that up as it covers a specific area, and then you hook up the counselor with that counseling agency. It's important to note that in order for this functionality to work, your counselors actually have to have what's called the business line role of counseling agency admin. Again, more details on that later when we cover the user portion of this, but that's how the fancy counselor assignment works, is you create the counseling agency as an entity and then link up the counselors to the agency as ProLink users. To do that, you'll just click add user. You'll be able to search from the existing users that have been set up in the system and add them. Contacts, as I mentioned, these are points of contact, typically at a servicer or somebody you're going to be paying, maybe getting more information from. So you know, if you're working with Wells Fargo and you know that Jim Smith in collections just gets things done, you can come into the Wells Fargo entity, come into contacts, add Jim Smith as a contact, and then you'll have his information at your fingertips when you're working with an application with Wells Fargo. So it's easier to know who to reach out to. Homeowner applications. Again, this is a view of what are the different applications that have this entity tied to it. So if something's going on with a particular servicer or a particular entity, you can drill into that entity from the admin menu, click on homeowner applications, and you'll quickly get a snapshot of, well, these are the applications that we might have to do something with. Notice you can export from this screen if you want to generate kind of a list of work items for agency staff to work on. Oops. Scrolling the wrong way here, bear with me. All right, next, the account tab. So this is where bank account information is maintained for an entity. Depending on the way that we integrate with your accounting system, this may or may not be required. But if you do want to maintain that in the system, that's here. Account information, pretty standard. Account number, routing number, financial institution information, as well as ACH or wire transfer, how to funds get to that servicer. Rather, this is the account information for the party we're paying or for the entity. All right, and then absent from this screenshot, so my apologies, a little confusing here, but on the next page, we're talking about counties served. So if you have an entity that is a counseling agency, you'll have one additional tab that is counties served. And this is how I say I have a particular counseling agency that serves a particular set of counties. So all the different counties in your state will be available as an option in this county serve tab. And you'll just pick the ones that the counseling agency serves. Just check them. Assignment weight. It is, I guess the way to best describe this is it's proportional between all the different counseling agencies that serve that county. So if I have 2 counseling agencies that serve Baldwin County, and I put a 1 in assignment weight for each of them, then the total assignment weight across all agencies is 2, and the first one has a 1 out of 2 or a 50% chance of getting an assignment. The other one also has a 1 out of 2 or a 50% chance of getting an assignment. So that's how that assignment weight works. Let's hop into the system again really quickly, take a look at it. So ProLink admin entities now we are in. Notice we've got a listing. These are all the entities that have currently been set up in the system. I could create a new entity if I wanted to, or I could edit an existing one. I'm going to go ahead and click into a counseling agency here, because that will enable me to see counties served. Notice the entity role. That's where I denote that it's a counseling agency. I'll just click on this, show you the other options. You'd set up a servicer, HOA, basically different sort of company roles that you'll be interacting with. And then let's click over here in county served. And it looks like we don't have this agency hooked up with any particular counties, but I will go ahead and say they serve these top 3 counties, give them an assignment weight of 1 for each, and save. All right, and now we've got counseling agency 1 hooked up to serve these 3 counties. I come over here to ProLink users, looks like we've got 1 counselor hooked up with this counseling agency. So provided she's set up right in the system, any applications that come in across any of these agencies will get Andrea assigned to them as a counselor. That's how that functionality works. All right, so Now, hopefully after that tour of entities, we can accomplish all of these different things. If you need to pay somebody through ProLink Plus, you'll need to set them up as an entity. You can add new entities or edit existing entities through the entity menu. You can add contacts, add ProLink users, which is useful for counselors, and set up the bank account information for that entity. Moving along to the next option, this is funds in the admin menu. And to be honest, there's not a lot you can do under funds. After we go through this, you'll be able to review all the funds that are available in the system and edit the existing ones to update their details. And as I say that, there's only one fund that the system is right now set up to handle, and that is the Homeowner Assistance Fund. Future scope for ProLink Plus is that we'll be able to create a bunch of different funds. So a bunch of different sources of money we need to administer as benefits. You would come into funds and set those up. You'd see your allocation amount, how much you've dispersed, and so on. So let's actually hop in the system and show you what that looks like. So back here in the old admin panel in our demo site, I'm going to click on funds now. And we've got the Homeowner Assistance Fund set up. Looks like our demo environment didn't get much money, only a couple million. I can click into it to see what's going on here. I can pick the source, where'd the money come from. Since it's half, it came from the Treasury. Again, how much were we allocated? When did we get the money? Is there an expiration date on these funds? Is it active? Is it something we're currently administering? What sort of reporting requirements do we have? Max assistance per application. A lot of times an agency will set a cap per applicant for this fund. We can only spend so much. This is where you do that. And then we've got some totals in the system for how much we've committed, how much we've dispersed, how much we've put back into the pool of funds. So some different stats there. Kind of interesting reporting available on this funds thing. And again, this is where you'll set up new funding sources for your benefit programs as they come in. All right, so a little bit of detail there. And all right, that was a quick section. So now you can review all funds available in the system. Again, currently only one, the Homeowner Assistance Fund. And you can edit existing funds to update details. And I should have added here, and also review sort of the fund's performance. How are we getting money out the door? What's a snapshot of our commitments and things look like as of today? All right, next, let's talk about Picklists. If there are any Tennessee folks on the call, I'm sure this is a subject that you're familiar with. But Picklists are how you modify, or Picklists rather, are drop-downs in ProLink systems. So through the admin Picklist functionality, you'll be able to review all available Picklists in the system, view the details of a Picklist, whether it is system as we call it or non-system. The key there is that there are some drop-down menus that you can make changes to. In other words, configure the values. There's some that you can't because there's code behind the scenes that needs certain values available. And so we do not want administrators making changes to those values because that could break the system. We'll also show you how to add a value to a Picklist when it is one you can change, that being a non-system Picklist, and how to edit a value for a Picklist. All right, so review all available Picklists. Common theme here, the list of Picklists is itself a data view. If you want to make changes to a particular Picklist, you'll click on the row, it'll launch you into edit that Picklist. And again, to reiterate, if the pick list is a system pick list, you can only look at it. You can't make changes to it. After you click into a pick list, you'll see the name of the pick list. Is it a system pick list? And then the different values will show up in a kind of a sub table on the screen. If you want to create a new one, there's a little add value kind of button over here you can click on. If you want to make changes to an existing one, you'll click on that row, you'll be able to change it. When you click add pick list value, you'll create the value you want to create. So you'll create the name, give it a description if you want. Is it active? Is it going to show up in this drop-down menu or not? And sort order. So do you want the values to show up in any particular order? That's what the sort order is useful for. Couple details on pick list values. So once a value is created or added to a pick list, you can't delete it. You can only deactivate it. And the reason for that is, let's say somebody chose that value somewhere in the system. If we deleted it, again, that could maybe not break the system, but it could break historical reporting, kind of make a poor experience. So you can only deactivate values. When a value is deactivated, you'll still see if it was ever selected. You just won't be able to select it going forward. Another kind of general rule, it's better to create new pick list values than it is to modify old pick list values typically. If it's just a name change, certainly modify it. But if you say, hey, nobody's used approved, let's go ahead and change it to under consideration. Probably a better idea just to deactivate approved and create a whole new one that says under consideration. All right, so now let's hop back into the system here really quick and take a look at pick lists. So first thing we'll do here is notice again, is system pick list where the values are yes. I'll just click into one of these. I'm clicking all over the screen. I'm not able to make any changes. I try to add a value. I'm not able to do that. Where is system pick list is no, let's say appeal status. I can come in here and click into and edit a value. Cancel out of this because I don't actually want to do it. Or I can create a brand new one by clicking add pick list value. I'd give it a name, description, set it active or not. And oops, new appeal status. I'll go ahead and create a new value here. Give it a description of demo status, sort order. And we'll give it a 6 because I know there's less than that, so I would want it to show up last if it ever did. But then I'm not going to make it active, so it never shows up just because this is a demonstration. All right, so see, I've now created this new value, but it's not active, so it'll never be available, or it won't be available to pick. But that's how you create a new value. All right, and that is pick lists in a nutshell. So that's how you review all the pick lists in the system. Again, you can make changes to non-system pick lists. System pick lists, there is system functionality that's going on behind the scenes. So that's why we don't allow you to modify those. You can now also add a value or edit a value in a pick list. And let's move on to our next topic. So next topic in the agenda, and we'll probably spend the most time on this one, is the programs menu option. There are even a few kind of sub menu options. for programs. Oops. And so learning objectives for programs, pretty high level. Be able to review all the different programs you're running through ProLink Plus. So this would be Homeowner Assistance Fund. We've got a client that's running an expense-only program where applicants will only apply to have homeowner expenses covered, not mortgage expenses. We could have like a reinstatement-only program. That's an example of what a program is in ProLink Plus. So we'll be able to review those and edit the program details. So what does the screen look like when you click into programs? Well, as a lot of the other screens in the system happen to work, this is a data view. So you click into programs, you get a listing of all the different programs that have been created. To make a change to an existing program, you go ahead and click on the row. After you click into a program, you can edit the details of that program. You'll see a series of tabs. What's important here, how much of your total funding are you giving to this particular program? When did you give the money to this program? Is this program active, right? Are we currently running this program? Some of those same data points from the top funding source level are also here, but they're program specific. So, you know, how much have we committed? How much have we gotten out the door? How much have we put back into the pool of funds? What's left over? You'll be able to add a description. This description displays on the homeowner portal. You'll be able to specify program requirements, repayment instructions, forgiveness details. You can set at a high level here. Disbursement settings, some of those you can modify here. So some recertification details, if you want to allow the borrower to pay a portion of their benefits. Let's say you have like a 90-10 split, we'll pay 90% of your mortgage bill, you have to pay 10% of it. You turn that on here. Eligible expenses, do we want to cover homeowner expenses? This is how you turn that on for a program. So all programs, you should be able to pay a mortgage by default. If you want to be able to pay utilities, internet expenses, HOAs, taxes, things like that, this is how you'll turn that on. And we also have a feature at the program level that is enable income reduction. This is where you can track what was a borrower making before their hardship happened, what were they making after that hardship because of the hardship, and how much did their income go down. This is where you turn that on, and it's at a program level again. Moving on to the next tab, the questions tab. This is where you'll set up your program pre-qualification questions. So questions can be changed over time as needed. You can specify, again, the text of the question is active. This is it going to display to the homeowner or to the applicant when they come into the system? True means it will, false means it won't. You can specify a required answer to pass pre-qualification. So like on this example, is the property your primary residence and located in the state? They have to say yes. If they say no, they're going to fail pre-qualification. And then the last bullet on the screen, use the placeholder. I always call this curly brace, sideways mustache, whatever you want to call this character. Curly brace 0, curly brace. If you put that in a pre-qual question, the system will actually replace that value with the max AMI or NMI value that is applicable to your applicant coming in the door. So if you want to say, I want to make sure that you're not making more money than you're allowed to for this program, just put this placeholder in one of your questions and the system will replace it with sort of their top level income threshold. This is why when we're asking borrowers what county they live in and what their household size is, we ask that before the pre-qual question so we know what to put in this replacement. Next, forgiveness schedules. So those of you that are attending and running a grant-based program, we're going to have an immediate schedule set up for you that'll be applicable. If you are administering benefits as loans, this is how you'll set up those forgiveness schedules. And last I'm going to cover here is county settings. So for a particular program, we can say for applicants in any given county, this is the most they can receive. If you type an amount up here, maximum amount per county, and hit apply, it'll put that value for all counties. If you want to do county specific benefits, you have to, or maximums, you have to type them in individually. Next to that, excuse me, is priority county. So if we want to make sure that we're taking a look at certain applications from certain counties in the state, we can make them a priority, and we'll be able to filter on those in our prioritization utility. That's how you set that up. All right, so let's take a look quickly at what we've gone through. And I might actually hop out of the slides here. So we've moved down to programs, talked about all the different options. So right now I'll click into homeowner assistance program, and we've gone through each of these tabs. Again, pre-qualification questions, forgiveness schedules, really only applicable if you're administering benefits as loans. County settings, do we want to set any county maximum benefit amounts, or do we want to prioritize certain counties? Next, we've got application intake. So underneath programs, I'll click on application intake, and we can actually turn application intake on or off at the homeowner portal level. So let's say we've gotten just a flood of applications and we don't want any more coming in the door. I can turn off my programs, save it, and applicants will no longer be able to create an application for whatever programs are unselected here. If they are all unselected, applicants won't be able to register. And on this, you can create the text that'll be displayed to applicants when they can't apply through the applicant portal. That's how you make those changes. I don't want to break the demo environment, so I'm going to cancel there. Oops, looks like we got somewhere different. All right, so that was application intake. Now let's go to checklist templates. So checklists in the system, right? This is how you configure a set of operational tasks that have to be completed for a particular program in a particular stage. This is where you create those templates that are pulled in to applications as they move through stages. So as most things work in the admin menu here, this is a data view screen. So I have a list of all existing checklist templates. If I want to view the details or modify an existing one, I will click on a row. And here I can see the checklist items on this checklist template. I can see the program it's involved with, and I can see the stage. So any applications that are in the homeowner assistance program that move into the disbursement stage will automatically have this checklist pulled in. If I want to create a new template, I do that by clicking new here, give my template a name, and then I pick the program and the stage it belongs to. So let's say I want a new checklist for my homeowner assistance program in the submitted stage. Go ahead and put in the basic information, click save. Now that I've created that sort of checklist template, I can add checklist items to that. I'll go ahead and click add checklist item here. This is where I create the actual checklist tasks or things that have to be done. I'll let's say initial application review is the title of the item. That's the thing that has to be done. Days until due, this is an interesting field. So when the checklist gets pulled into an application, we have the ability to set a due date. And the due date is going to be, let's say the checklist is pulled in today. If I type a 14 in here, the due date that's calculated for this item will be 2 weeks out or 14 days out. So I'll go ahead and create that. Sort order of 1, I want it to show up first. Is it required? Does this thing have to be done in order to complete the checklist? Is it active? Is it even going to show up on the checklist? And then description. So take a look at the application. I'll go ahead and click save and return because I've made my changes. I want to go back to my last page. And now notice I've created a checklist and I've added a checklist item to it. I could create more checklist items. I could export my list of checklist items. So that's how checklist templates work. Next, forgiveness schedules. So we set up these out of the box, immediate 1 year, or excuse me, immediate 2, 3, 4, and 5 year terms. I'm not going to go into too much detail here, but again, following the pattern, this is a data view. So I get a list of all the different forgiveness schedules that exist. If I want to know the details on one of them, I can click in. This is where I can modify a forgiveness schedule. So it looks like our immediate forgiveness schedule, period 0. So right after all the funds are dispersed, we're forgiving 100% of what has been dispersed. That's kind of how this works. Not going to go again into tremendous detail here, but just know that we have the ability to get pretty, I guess, pretty custom or pretty down in the weeds with how we forgive loans. And then this programs tab, this is how you hook up a forgiveness schedule with a particular program that you're running in the system. Program doc templates. So this is actually a pretty cool feature. So if you have, say, a fillable form that you're going to want to generate for your applicants, you can create a fillable PDF template. You know, fillable PDF with like the purple fields that you can type text into. So if you give those fields a certain number, or rather a certain name, the system will say, hey, I know what to do with that field. I put in this value from the database. And so this is where you'll set up those documents. Again, you have to have created the template outside of the system in a PDF maker. But to create a new one, go ahead and click on new, give it a name, description. What program is this document applicable for? A sort order, and then you'll say, yes, it is a fillable PDF. So the system will say, okay, when I'm creating a copy of this, I'm going to look through all the different forms, see which ones I can replace. So to give you an example of how this works, I'm actually going to come into an application really quickly. I'm just in Alan Jackson's application. Down here under his programs, I have program documents. Those 3 items. THDA folks, if you're watching, these may be familiar to you. But let's look at the approval letter. Let's see what happens when we click on it and generate it. So it looks like we have auto-populated date here. That's been populated with today's date. We've populated it with our applicant's name, with the application number, populated it with the property address and, the property address from the application as well. And we've also left some fields unfilled that stay with the PDF. So that's how that functionality works. All right, and last for the program section is supporting files here. So supporting files, this is what homeowners have to or can upload to make their case for underwriting. All the existing supporting files show up here in a list screen, again, similar to the pattern pretty much everywhere else in the system. Couple things of note: if I want to add a new supporting file that applicants either can or have to upload, I'll click new. If I want to make changes to an existing, I can click into it. So let's click into our mortgage statement supporting file really quickly. We've given it a name of mortgage statement. The description, that'll show up on the homeowner portal as well. So if you want to add a little color, you can do that. File category, this is how your files are going to be grouped on the homeowner portal. Is it visible on the homeowner portal? You may have a scenario where you want a file to be something that underwriters or processors upload only, and that your homeowner can't see. This toggles whether they even have the ability to see and upload the file. If not, you'll still be able to see it through the back office or agency portal, still be able to upload. It's just not something that the applicant will be aware of. Sort order, just how are the files going to show up? What order? Is fillable PDF. You do have the ability to upload a fillable PDF here. Due to time constraints, we're not going to go through that, but similar to program doc templates. Allow homeowner portal deletion after submission. So we've run into a scenario where homeowners would, or applicants would upload a file, underwriting would say, hey, what's going on with this file? And the homeowner would just delete it because they thought it would hurt their case. Checking this means after you upload something and you've submitted your application, you can't delete it. Required to submit application. This is how we say, in order to get your application in the door, you have to upload this file, and then is active. Is this file even going to show up as an option or not? So that's how supporting files work in the system. And that's all the options under programs. So again, a lot going on there, and we went through it relatively quickly. All this detail is in the slide deck, which will be available after today's session. So let's just click through here. And hey, now you can review all the available programs in the system, hopefully make changes, edit the details, see what's going on. So a couple more sections to get through. The first, security roles. So this is how you configure user access to the system, and it's done on a role-by-role basis. So after this section, you will be able to review all the available security roles, create a new one, and edit the details of an existing security role. So after you click on security roles, again, as sort of is the pattern, you are on a list screen that happens to be a data view of all available security roles in the system. If you want to create a new one, you'll click on this new button in the top left corner. If you want to edit or view the details of an existing one, you'll click on the particular row that you want to make a change to. After a row click, you will come to this screen where you'll see the name for the security role, a description, startup screen. This is where do these users land. We've got some configurability there. And then down below, role privileges. This is a listing of 100-some different things, areas in the system we want to allow users to view, modify, delete, so on and so forth. One tip I will say is that there are a lot of privileges. It can be a little overwhelming to kind of compare one role to another. Hey, I've got a user that needs to be able to do this. This other user can do this. What difference, what do I need to change? You can export this listing of privileges from a particular role and then compare that to another export from another role in Excel and sort of see how they match up and see what the differences are. So I've actually used that a few times, and it can be very helpful. Next option under edit the role, you can see the users assigned to a role. So if you click on that tab, you get a listing of everybody in the system that has that particular security role. So you'll know at a glance if there's something a particular role has been able to do that maybe it shouldn't have. You can look at all the users and you'll know who to kind of track down and maybe ask and make sure, hey, we didn't do anything we shouldn't have, right? Or is there anything we need to fix? Or, you know, you can see, hey, what are my disbursement officers or my CDF administrators? You know, my main one is going out of town. Who else has this role in the system and can do it? This is how you can see that. So really quickly, and let's hop back in the system, security roles. So list screen, not too many security roles out of the box in our demo environment. This is probably a welcome site for many of our clients who are watching who have quite a few more security roles. But so let's click into the closer role and see what they have. So notice I can change their startup screen. So this would be, again, where any of my closers come into the system. This is their option. And role privileges, checkmark means they can do it. Just scrolling through here, a lot of different stuff. We're always happy to help answer questions on how this functionality works. And then last, who's assigned to this role? That's funny. Looks like nobody in our demo system is a closer at all. I'll come into this system administrator role so we actually see something. Here you go. Looks like basically everybody in our demo environment is a system administrator. So cancel out of there. Come back to the presentation. We're running a little low on time, but that's okay, because now it's time for our last topic, which is users. So after this section, you'll be able to review current users in the system and edit current users, create new users. Right. So again, as the pattern goes, once you click into users, you are presented with a list screen, which happens to be a data view that shows all current users of the system. If I want to add a new user, click new in the top left corner. If I want to modify an existing, click on the row. When I am modifying a user, I can deactivate that user. Like if somebody leaves your agency, leaves your organization, you'll want to make them deactivated. You can modify security roles here. Business line role is used for application assignment. So your intake clerks can have whatever security role you have set up in the system, but then the business role will be intake clerk. And those are the folks that'll get applications assigned to them initially. Let's actually take a look at what those are here really quickly, since we're getting close to the top of the hour. So again, click into roles. Let's click into my user here. All right, and so security role, these were all the available security roles we had set up in the system. Business line role, these are all the sort of business functions that this user could perform. So we've got housing, counselor, housing counselor admin, useful for application assignment, intake clerk, underwriter, closer, and so on. Disable auto application assign. This is a feature where if we have counselors in the system, but we don't want to assign them applications, so we do have a client that has counselors set up that we don't want to automatically give applications to, you'll check this box. And that means that when an application can be automatically assigned to this role, regardless of whether this user has it or not, we're not going to automatically give them anything. And then finally, force password reset. So this is an option where, let's say this user has something kind of hinky going on with their password. Maybe their security was compromised, something happened. I can come into this user record, click force password reset, and they will be booted out of the system if they're currently in there, or next login, they'll have to go through the password reset process. So just a little bit of added security there. All right, and let's cancel out of that. Oops, scroll the right way. Again, sorry for being super quick through those last couple sections, but hopefully after the user section, you can review all current users of the system, edit the details of an existing user. Again, to create a new one, you would click that new button. Similar pattern through most of the admin functionality. If you've ever made a change or aren't quite sure what you're doing, the cancel button is your friend. That means no matter what you've done on that page, it'll just kind of say, hey, we'll go back to the way things were. But hopefully the admin panel is a little less daunting to those of you that have that under your job responsibilities. So with that, that brings me to the questions slide. I didn't notice any questions coming in, so I think we're pretty good there. Where to get help? Top right-hand corner from any screen in the agency portal, click on help. That'll launch you to our help center. Lots of good content. If you kind of aren't sure what you're doing, I'd really recommend clicking on help. I even do it, and I work here. And that brings me to the end. Thank you all very much.
All right, thank you, Joe. And thank you everyone for joining the session. I hope you found great value in this session. As a reminder, a copy of Joe's PowerPoint is available here. And you can also come back and watch the recording of the session anytime. Even after the conference is over, you are able to log back onto the platform for next 90 days to watch any of the session recordings. The session survey is available on the right side of your screen. Please provide any feedback you might have on this particular session. In the survey, there is a place where you can type in any outstanding questions that are not answered during the session. Well, this was the last session of day one. If you're only participating on track 2 ProLink Plus half, this is the end of the conference for you. Although feel free to join us tomorrow for track 1 sessions, which are designed for ProLink HFA multifamily audience. And we also have coffee and bagel going on tomorrow as well. And we'll start tomorrow morning at 9 a.m. Eastern. So enjoy your evening, and I'll see you tomorrow. Thank you.